get the recording back going up. There we go. Welcome everybody. We're going to get started. My name is Meredith White. I teach Spanish 1 and 2 just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Komal and I both are in Gwinnett County, and which is now storming. Good times. So this will be fun. What an adventure. What a time to be alive. Hopefully nothing happens. But yeah, we were just talking too before we came on. We are what some people are calling hybrid, concurrent. We've got roomies, zoomies. We've been roomies and zoomies all year. So if you want to talk to anybody who's really annoyed with this year, we're your people, because we like whatever it is. Yes, we've been through it. So we were just talking about some of the frustrating aspects, which is, I know what a lot of people are coming into now, which is super interesting, like starting back in person.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that great? Like with 7 weeks left, you know what? Call it a day. Like,
yeah. Let's start a whole new way of teaching.
Like the first day of school. Hey, everybody, let's get our bathroom routine down. Like, you know what? Don't go to the bathroom. Wasn't TJ saying, wasn't he texting that he had bottles of water on his desk because they've turned like kids, the bathroom, the toilets are off and the water fountains are off. So he had, I think in that picture that he texted us, he's in Nevada. He had like bottles of water and said that they have to like, he was like, they can't go to the bathroom and they can't, what? Like, are you serious? That's crazy. Our water fountains are off. At least ours are. I don't know if yours are as well, but we've got like random ones are on and they have a long filter for like filling your water bottle, but like that's only like one per hallway is on and that's it. The rest are off. So like, even if you pour something down, it's like, hope you brought a chaser like to rinse it down with. Cause ew, like your Coke is just going to like sit there or your coffee. Yeah.
The one in my hallway is on, so I don't know what's happening with the rest of the school, but I know the one in my hallway.
Yeah, there's one like down away from me, and then it's like, oh, like you gotta go to the next hallway. So anyway, yeah, Angelica, prepárate. That's all I'm saying. It's weird. None of it feels great. So whatever you're doing now virtually, just keep doing that, and you're gonna be great. Honestly, I mean, that's how I feel. But
so I mean, the in-person kids are basically like just on. I feel like they're still on Zoom, but just like in person. It's hard to.
They're digital, but they're with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I know that sounds really terrible, but we're going to chat about support, but that's one of the ways I feel really supported. Where I am is we never at any point were told like, and it was the opposite. It was like, do not feel like you need to make a whole nother lesson plan or do things that you're uncomfortable with or whatever. And I thought that was really, really encouraging.
I did appreciate that. Yeah.
Because I was like, everyone else was like virtual for the end of time. And it was like, all right, kids will be in the building next week. And we're like, like where everyone's like grand experiment. Didn't love
that.
But
I mean, I was pregnant.
Right.
Yeah. So we were like, cool. We're not going to come in person. So I'm like, baby's due in September. I should be good. And they were like, and kids are coming back. I was like, oh, what was that?
Just kidding. They'll be right back. And you're like, pause. Like, I was like,
I'm 8.5 months pregnant, and you're telling me the kids are coming in this classroom on like Monday. I don't comprehend.
Help me understand. Right. Yeah. So for those of you we're in the same district, but yeah, we were kind of yanked around. It was like, we're going to be this. Just kidding. I mean, in pre-planning, I think that the layout for the year changed twice, maybe thrice. Like, was like, we're going to be, we're not going to be, we're going to be, we're going to be, like that meme with the dog paw where he steps out like into the snow and is like, no. There's just this single paw. It was like, yes, no, maybe, no, ooh, no. And then we were just like, what are we doing? You'd make stuff and then you're like, oh, nope, delete it. Like that's
delete. Yeah. Planning wise, it's so fun to plan for all digital and then be like, and you're going to have some ninth graders and then a bunch of this and then a bunch of that. And you're like, I don't even know how many kids that is. I don't even know what that means.
Great. How do I? Right. And it's at the beginning of the year when their schedules are are still changing too.
Yeah.
Like their schedule. So it's like, oh, I got to meet like, oh, Joe, he seems like a nice kid. Where'd Joe go? Like, is Joe like literally, I mean, so it's that weird like first 2 weeks where you're like, and then they're going, do you think, do you think he should be in person? I don't even know who he is.
Right.
Like we've never met. Who? I don't even know their names yet. Like, terrible. So anyway, Komal, you want to introduce yourself? I know I said we were in the same district, but what levels you're teaching this year? Because I think I only remember part of it from our conversation.
Yeah, so I'm at Collins Hill. I have been there since I started teaching in 2007.
Right.
So I've been here this whole entire time in Gwinnett County. High school, Spanish 1 and 3 this year. So like my favorites. I really enjoy 1 and 3. And I've been teaching them for several years now, so I'm really happy with that. 3 is the honors level. It's fun. It's like AP prep, so I enjoy working. Just I wouldn't change that. I love like introducing kids to Spanish and like just introducing them to language labs, which are like sad because we don't really get to use them anymore. I don't know if everybody has them, but those like things come down and talk to my friends. And like for the first semester, they're just like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. But until they get excited and excited about the language and all that stuff. So it's really, really fun to see the first experience they have with Spanish, and then with Spanish 3, being able to have so much freedom and create so much in the language. I love the two, like again, CP1 and 3 honors, I feel like are just so vastly different, and I really enjoy the difference.
Well, and you get I'm gonna turn down my volume a little bit here. I might get a little interference. And you get such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a swath of progress and different like motivations. And like you said, I love catching them at the beginning. Like I do levels of 1 and 2. And so I love levels 1 and 2 because it's, like, hi, like, let's do this. Here's what this is about. And, kind of getting them excited about it, or at least thinking about it. It's not all positive and joyful and all those things. When it comes to language, we were talking last night about, for many people, language is a story of exile, and language is a story of hurt, and language is a story of, something you're not allowed to do. You were shamed out of doing it. And now you're missing part of your identity, all these different things. Especially when people have moved places and immigrated and all these different things, but at least sort of introducing them, like being that first for many, maybe with dual language immersion, not so much where we are for much longer, but like at least, giving them a quality experience coming in, because a lot of times, the early levels in a lot of departments, in my experience, has been like, oh, give it to so-and-so, they're young. And so you get these huge classes. It's kids like first exposure to the language, and you just get like 9th graders or whatever level, and they're like, all over the place, like freshmen are. I believe really strongly, and I know you do too, of like quality teaching at the lower levels, not more than others, but like especially so, like having a really high quality level 1 teacher can make a really big difference for a lot of students.
Oh, I agree with that completely. I think that especially at 1, but like at all of them, like having good, strong teachers makes such a big difference with your like the taste that's like left in your mouth, like how that experience was. So if you start off and you're like, oh, that was awful, then you already are turned off from like wanting to continue with it. So I feel like like when I see kids in my class, it seems like they're having a good experience in there. So I really do enjoy giving them that first experience where they're like, okay, I can do this. And I try speaking in Spanish a lot of immersion as much as I can. So I think having them, at first be very resistant, and then by the end, I'll have kids be like, you don't need to speak in Spanish, like you don't give directions in Spanish anymore. And I'm like, I'm giving directions in Spanish. You stopped realizing that I'm giving directions in Spanish because you already know what I'm saying. So like,
was that English? No.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, like you don't have to process anymore because you already know what I'm saying. Like every day, I'm like, vamos a empezar con el calentamiento, or vamos a empezar. Like, so like you don't even have to process these things anymore because it's like you know the language now. So it's very exciting to see them get comfortable with that immersion and get comfortable with like getting that exposure so early on in Spanish 1. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, like it's the expectations, like you can do this thing, and they go, oh, when you're like, okay, entonces, at the beginning of the year, and they're like, I don't even know what she's saying. And you're like, okay, you're yelling that you can't understand me. Now you can't even hear me. Like, calmate. Okay. We'll get there. Like, geez.
Calmate, you're right.
Like, good grief. But, getting them to that. Yeah, it's really nice. I had forgotten that you had, so this year is like all a blur. So I'm going to go backwards to then go forwards and ask you kind of about balance. But so this is our, what month are we in? March,
March.
right? Okay, so March 2021. So we met 21 years ago. No, I'm sorry, 17 years ago. Math is hard. Okay, I teach Spanish. We met 17 years ago this
Yep.
fall, which is insane because you and I lived together across the hall from each other in college.
In Brumby, and
Yeah,
UGA.
Brumby. Woo woo.
All girls dorm.
At the top. And I was telling oh, it was all female dorm, ridiculous. It's a lot of estrogen, everybody. And just like a lot of like bath products, like all of us in our little like shower shoes, and like 17, bath gels. But I remember you and I, starting the same program, but as like an education training program, as many are, you don't student teach and you don't really do any practicum until like your senior year. So it's like, it's so weird. Well, or like junior year, there's like, you take education classes, but then like senior year, it's like, or like whatever that the third year or the fourth year, it's like, here you go, goodbye, like enjoy that. And it got thrown in. And so you can only be so prepared for the, for teaching. It's like, you can take the classes, you can whatever, but until you're doing it, we don't know what it looks like. You didn't know what to do for X, Y, and Z situation until they happen. And then you're like, wow, he just threw a desk.
Yeah.
And cuss that other kid out. Like, help me. What do I like?
Yeah, we joke we have these emails that are always titled "Que hago?" or text messages that they start with "Que hago?" And like we're all like, when we start teaching, our first year teachers talking to our mentors and being like, okay, "Que hago?" Hoy un estudiante. So that's always how it starts, because it is, every situation is so different.
Yes, they're all so different, and you don't know how to respond until you're like in it, and you're like, oh, that ain't it. Like I would say stuff and do stuff. Right. You're like, nope, that went poorly. And like, whatever, you may get a chance to rectify it, but maybe not. And so I think I don't know that we're always taught about like things like balance and support. And because you're so overwhelmed by all of those things that like in student teaching, and then those first couple of years, you're just like, like the water is just like boiling all the time. That for me, like teaching consumed me in a lot of ways, because it can't not. You're just like, oh my God. And then if you're coaching, sponsoring, whatever it is. I mean, you and I started young, like end of college, goodbye, like, hi, I'm here now, and I'm 3 years older than my
student. I graduated college in 3 years.
Yes.
One in August. And like I was like teaching, like I could literally have kids my own age, because you could be in high school.
Amazing. I remember you finishing, because I was like, I remember you saying you were teaching and I was a senior, and they were like, yeah, like you said, like, yeah, I was in that program last year. And I was like, last year, wait, we're the same. Wait, what? And then you were like, yeah, I graduated in 3 years. And I was like, oh my God, it's insane, because you're like, we're the same. Like you could have had college classes with like some of your seniors, like your first year. And it's like, oh, this is weird. Like we're basically the same age, yet so different, like yet so much life happens. So when you look at like your evolution of teaching from 21 to like 35, 36, what would you say? Do you think, and now we're in a pandemic, so let me add on an addendum. Now in like this year, having had your son in September, in addition to your daughter, do you feel like there's such thing as balance? Like when you balance like your workload and your teaching?
I think that, am I breaking up here?
No,
you're good. Is unstable.
For me.
We're good.
That's okay. No worries.
Okay, so I would say, I cannot imagine starting as a first year teacher with like kids and like a family, because when I started, I was also like just single, 21, didn't have just so many other responsibilities, which I think would have made it so difficult, because again, the first few years, balance is so hard. I was doing as much as I could during the day, bringing home so much work. It just definitely takes a few years to get to that point where you can just kind of start improving. Like year one, it's like survival mode. All lessons were not where I wanted them to be. They were not cute. They just weren't. And so,
Yeah.
yes, then year 2, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna throw out like about 40% of what I did and fix that. And then like year 3, you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw out only 20% this time.
Amen.
That, and then once you're like kind of almost like 100% happy, then you can just start like really being like, am I putting culture? Am I putting this? Did I have enough of that? Did I have keep listening? And then you can just really enhance. And so I mean, I'm not the type, like a lot of teachers will be like, I just start over every year like it's brand new. I do not do that. I keep everything I've done and then just kind of again like pull out things that I was like, that could be better. And then every year I'm improving. So like when you get new textbooks, which happened to us for like 5 years ago, maybe my daughter was born 5-6 years ago. That's when you again are like, oh my God, it's like a first year teacher feeling again, where you're like, okay, I can't use any of my vocab list. I can't use like I have to start over. And I'm so particular about formatting. So I'm also like, this is not, I'm like, everyone creates something, like, use mine. And I'm like, I need like my nombre and fecha and hora to be here. The title.
I like what I like. Okay.
Right. So, which is so hard. Like I have to, even this year, I was like self-talking myself, being like, you have to let things go. You cannot recreate everything. What a text with.
Right.
Yeah,
Chris
that's
was like, y'all get new ones? I mean, new is relative.
Yeah. Also, it's like textbooks, which is just like the curriculum. Then my kids, like they're dusty, and like the class set that we have are dusty in our shelf.
Yes.
With the idea of, like we just have to teach the curriculum and follow that from the textbook. So it's definitely such a process that I think that you have to just kind of evolve and every year gets a little bit better. But again, like so for year 1, year 2 is just survival. It's like read this and like answer some questions and like I don't know, like while you do that, I'm gonna figure out what I'm doing tomorrow and like maybe it's a lot of.
It's so true. It's like while you do page 38, I'll make sure page 39 makes sense for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I can't. I'm busy. Like I'm not panicking.
Yeah. Some of this vocab also, it's like in Spanish, like my first year also taught Spanish 2 and Spanish 3. So like Spanish 3 vocab, like I mean, I was literally learning words I've never seen before. Like never. So it's just, that was such an interesting feeling to where I feel like when I was leaving college, I was also like my Spanish was at like the height. I was like writing like 10, 12-page papers in Spanish. So I was like, I feel like I know so much. And then I'm like teaching my first year and I'm like, okay, I have to learn this vocabulary in Spanish 3 that I do not know. I've never seen these words before. That's an experience.
That's so true. That's so true. And I remember, like I can remember you and I like using, I don't even remember this, but like you and I using Spanish back and forth a couple of times because we realized we were in the same degree program and we were like, hi, whatever, like meeting, at the beginning of the year. And yeah, like your Spanish was already incredible. And then, like you said, finishing in 3 years, you feel like you're at like the top of your game, in some ways. And then you're like, what do I have to learn? Like, what's the word for, so I'm going to assess students on words that I didn't know.
Yeah. Like, I just learned last week as well. Like, it's like literally you guys were all in the same boat, but then also you have to come across as the fact that that's not the case. Right. So like at the beginning, I feel like now I'm very comfortable being like, you know what? I don't know what the word for hippopotamus is in Spanish. But
it's always the animals. Why do they always want to?
Always. I know all the animals just because everyone wants to know about like la jirafa, tortuga. Like, literally.
What about duck platypus? I don't know. Why would I know that?
Yeah, and the kids will literally be like, you don't know that. You have to look at it.
Why don't you know? You're like, why don't you know? I don't know. You have Google Translate, Gen Z. Look it up. Like, I don't know. Kelly's like, just so you know, it's Orto Rincon. Like, damn it, Kelly. Like, get out of here. No. Yeah, I mean, I remember learning like raccoon or some other small rodent-like animal because they kept asking and I was like, am I being punked? Like, are you asking because it's like some inside joke and like perverted? Like, I don't know why. Like, it wasn't even like beaver or something, where it was like
mapache. I didn't know that raccoon.
Mapache. That was not the word I was thinking of, so it might not have been a raccoon. Maybe it was like possum. Quick, somebody, possum. All the weird. What are the children in Guatemala? Guajeros. No, I'm kidding. I'll explain that later. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
sugar glider. Okay, why are they asking sugar glider?
Always the animals. And again, yeah, I think, and like, like our knowledge is kind of like, it's not very specific. And like, if they ask me like, how to say like car, like mechanic type, like I don't know how to say like tire and steering wheel and like all
Yeah,
these
right.
random, so it's like, yeah, it's very, so I just also remember the kids being so aghast at you not knowing something, like, what? How dare you? And what my first year teaching was also like, oh, I just forgot, like I knew it, or like I just forgot. But
Oh yeah, that's
now
it.
yeah, because you just want to come off as an expert. Now I'm a lot more comfortable, which I think, again, back at that time, it would have been okay for me to say, I don't know everything. But that's something I also evolved into later, where it's like, it's okay to say you don't know everything, and learn it over time. And so, and again, I think it makes the students comfortable, because it's like, you don't know and I don't know, and look it up. And we talk about word reference is like my favorite like online dictionary type thing. So we talk about why not use a translator and how you look stuff up, and it's yeah. So I think that at my first few years teaching, I could have definitely again been more comfortable with not being the expert on everything. But I just start off, you want to be just like the expert in the room. And I was also like a little bit in the mode of like, the don't smile till December type thing. So I was like, let me come off very like, because again, I'm 21, you guys. So like,
I'm 9.
Right. So like, I mean, how many times does someone come into the room and be like, where's the teacher? And you're like,
it's me. Right. So
it's just tough. And I was wearing like little suit jacket stuff. I look at my like ID pictures from those days and I'm like, what was I thinking? And I think that for me has definitely evolved a lot too, that like, it's okay to be able to connect with them a little bit more and just not be the expert and joke around with them and connect with them. And that's such a big part of teaching. It's not just about, the content, is about so much more than that. But I think that starting off, that was very hard for me to understand. And that comes with time, understanding that.
Well, and balancing the emotions, like you mentioned 2 things that I think are really clear that like really resonate with me. First of all, I think it's important acknowledging like that when our life evolves, like you said, family, however that's defined, right? Significant other, spouse, children, animals, whatever your home situation is, I think is immediately like as it multiplies, like as it gets bigger, whatever, more variables involved, I think your teaching situation inevitably complicates. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough in teaching, is like the burden that we put a lot of times on like, oh, well, so-and-so, you're young, single, come on, can you help us coach baseball? And like just assuming that people have the time, have the wherewithal, have the energy, maybe without really knowing, and not even that sounded like maybe like well-intentioned, but not, but then the opposite, like resenting people for like, oh, well, how hard could it be for him? He's single and doesn't have any kids. And it's like, we can't do that either. We've got to come to the table assuming that everyone's working as hard as everyone else and that everyone's situation is different. And the second thing is, you made me think about how the juxtaposition is of the things that you're secure with when you first start, and then the things you aren't. Because for me, it's shifted. I don't know if you're the same, but the last, I don't know, couple of years, I'd say, I have felt the increasingly more disconnected from the things that I felt really good about myself when I started teaching. So like you said, we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew what they were talking about, if that makes sense. Like they'd use like slang or references or whatever, and there wasn't like Snapchat and this and that and the other. And so we didn't know how to teach, but we were like, I know what you're saying. And now it's the opposite, where we know, we're mid-career and we know a lot of things, but then they're saying other things. And I'm like, listen, you perverts, I know that you kids are just saying, and like, they're just like talking about like today, like Uno, and I'm like, oh, you're talking about okay, well, behave over there, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's like crotchety old lady.
You don't ever play Uno, Meredith?
No, I literally have never played Uno. I know.
It's
And
like,
that
it
was
takes 1
also
minute
their
to learn it.
reaction. I was like, I know. And we're like a card game family, like euchre, pinochle, solitaire, cribbage.
You are
Like
not a
do it all.
card game family.
I've
That
never,
title is not true. You are not
that,
a card game
I've never
family.
played Uno. And I think we had like Uno growing up. No one ever played it with me. I blame my no, isn't that funny? So they were playing Uno today, and I was like eavesdropping super hard because I told you, you saw I posted on my story. I was eavesdropping because I was like, "What are they playing? What are they talking about?" They were just talking about like cards, but I was like, "Oh, I don't actually even understand anything they're talking about anyway." So like, not because it was Uno, but because like,
yeah, the disconnect definitely. That's a
20 years
different
older
thing.
than now. Yeah.
Yeah, when the kids say lovely things to you, like, "Oh my God, you're twice my age."
Like, can you help me with my
You know,
geometry?
that was
No.
uncalled for.
I took geometry before you were born. Why would that be? Like, I literally was drawing something the other day and they go, gross. Right,
Oh, you're
charisma.
older than
You're
my
older than
mom.
my
I don't
mom.
like to
And you're
hear
like,
that.
I was drawing something and they go, really? Like, that's all you got? And I was like, I haven't taken art since 1997. So thank you, like, in advance for, and they were all like, okay. I'm like, don't do the math. Y'all are rude. Y'all are rude. Like,
Yeah.
but it's funny how that shifts how like what you get secure in. I don't know if you felt that same way, but like what you feel good about and what you feel like secure with. And then what hits a little bit, like, ooh, I don't love that, has totally shifted for me over the years.
Yeah, I mean, just even when you're trying to make the content relevant and you're like, let's talk about like the Kardashians, let's talk about Beyonce, and you're like, I look how many times I've Googled like famous people now, current celebrity, like I don't even know what to type. I don't even know what to look
Help,
for.
who's famous?
Yeah, it is like YouTube stars and TikTok people, and I'm like, I don't know who is cool. Okay, that's what I should look up. Who is cool? I'm gonna make a note of that.
That's right. Cool? Who is cool? That's literally like my Google history is that where I'm like, help me, who's famous? Like, yeah, and it's all in capital letters because I'm yelling like that. Like, who's famous today?
Correct. So like, now I've changed to like, we've just gone with like SpongeBob and like Anna and Elsa. Like I can't keep up. So we go to something that everyone just hopefully recognizes.
You realize why your parents like stopped listening to the radio like 20 years before you were like rolling your eyes at them, or they're like, I'm just listening to Hall & Oates, man. And you're like, ew. But now it's like, no, that makes a lot of sense. I don't.
Yeah. Like, what is this noise
don't know
that
anything.
you guys are listening to? And I can't understand what they're saying. Yeah.
Joe, exactly. You go down a rabbit hole. You're like, so is this, what am I endorsing here? Like, like, am I backing some, have we canceled this yet? What is it that we're, do I need to be like, what's it called when you don't do something like, what's it called? Like when you stop going to a thing or stop doing a thing, cancel, boycott. Thank you, Kelly. My, yeah. Like, are we boycotting this? Is this what, never mind. I take my example back. I think you're like deleting slides. Yeah. Like, turns out so-and-so is oh my God, I didn't know that's what they were famous for. Delete.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like, geez Louise. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone in that. Because we're also like, there are so many people that are like, oh, you guys are young. And it's like, well, yeah, but like there's a point where, yeah, again, you're 20 years older than your students, and that becomes like a generation. Yeah. And
you keep saying these numbers, Meredith, and I don't appreciate.
Did I say 20? I don't know if I mentioned 20. You're 20 years. Amazing. I was gonna ask you about, like, but we already kind of like chatted about that. So I guess having said that, for you, what does support mean this year for you with your family, with being concurrent? If your administrator says like, so, Komal, how do I support you? What does support mean for you these days?
It's so hard because finding the balance between a friend of mine was actually thinking about like maybe teaching at Collins Hill in another department. She's like, can you tell me, because she likes the idea of like, she's in the middle school, and she said she likes the idea of like team teaching and that kind of stuff. And it's such a hard, because when I first started, there was no concept of like, we have like PLCs, do you call them like your group? I don't know what you guys call it, where it's like all the levels meet together. There was nothing, right? It was literally like, here's a textbook and here's your classroom. Good luck. And so there was nothing. So at that point, I was very like, nothing, like you're gonna give me nothing. So I just figured it out on my own. So every day I was figuring it out on my own. And then, I mean, there was like a mentor, and they were great. Sometimes they're teaching the same classes, and sometimes they're not. And so that's like an interesting way to start. But then I also don't like everyone will give this test on this day. No. I don't like that either. So it's very hard to find, like what you want. Because it's funny, because if you ask me what I want, I don't know what I want. It's a lot of times you're like, I want support, but I don't want to be micromanaged, but I want help, but I don't want you to tell me what to do and when to do it. So that's been a very hard thing, because in our school, especially, like our principal changed maybe about 5 years ago.
Is that Raheem? I was really hoping Raheem would walk in.
He'll probably come by later. But figuring out what you need is so hard, because then we started doing PLCs, and then we were like, okay, we'll just do this much, and you can just, now we have Google Drives that everyone puts up in Google Drive, and we can pull. And so and then this year, I think it's been at the end of the semester last year, there was a lot of issues with some teachers gave an assignment daily that they graded, in the March through May type situation. And then some people were doing one assignment a week. So I think that was hard for students and parents. I think this year they wanted us to decide on which assignments we're giving. So we gave the same assignments, we gave the same tests, we gave them the same day. That was okay this year, because we were working together from the very beginning, and so that was okay. In a normal year, I don't know if I would like to be told when to give my tests and exactly what to give. But this year there was a lot of us kind of going back and forth and coming up with stuff together. So it was a lot of we're using some of my stuff and your stuff and our stuff, and that kind of stuff. So I think that worked out okay, but it's hard to even know what you want, because sometimes you just look at things and you're like, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't know what I want.
It's like being in a relationship. What do you want to eat tonight? Whatever, but no, not whatever. I want.
Yeah, when you say this, you're like, no. You want to teach the same test? No.
Yeah.
And the same day? No. You want nothing? No, I want something. Like what?
I want something, but not what you got. Right. Yeah. It's like that Meatloaf song. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. It's like, I'll do anything for the department, but I won't do that. Or no, that I hate everything about this quiz. But but the things I make, but I don't want to make it all. It's like you said, I want to share. Guys, I don't want to have to make all 30 questions by myself, but also I hate everything you create. So if you
everything you create, why does your stuff always have to be so off? Yes.
Why are you so boring? No, or why are you stupid little things like beyond vocab? You use calcetines, and then somebody else puts medias, and you're like, oh, why even share? Now I have to edit.
Yes.
I think we're high maintenance. I think that's what that means.
That's what it is. Because I get really picky about if I'm going to do grammar and a section is 10 questions, I like to throw in 2 in the yo form, 2 in the do form. And then you make it, and you're like 5 in the yo form. What are we, animals? What, do you not even proofread? What are we doing here? Stuff like that, where I know it's a me problem, but I still can't handle it. I get it.
Kelly,
my name is Komal,
I know it's a me problem, but I still can't handle it. Right. It's a breakup. It's I know it's me, but also it's mostly you.
But also you should do better.
Do better. Right. What are we, animals? What, all in the yo form, you selfish jerks? What is it? Me.
You don't care about your students. You don't care about teaching. You don't care about any of it. So
how do you even still work here?
Yeah. How are you not having a needs improvement on your professional standards?
Unbelievable. I will be right. I mean, like you said, I don't want to be micromanaged. Charisma, we are your people. You don't want to be micromanaged, but I don't want to I feel like this year especially, don't tell me what to do, but also tell me maybe some stuff to do. Tell me a little bit to do, because I want to be able to blame you. Whoever you is. So it's don't tell me what to do, but also help me out here. But the way I want to be helped out.
Yes. I don't know what that is, but help me how I want to.
Help me how I want, and I will tell you when it isn't, because I'm not sure what it is. So
yeah.
Is that
and I think that sums it up pretty well, I think. Yeah.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
think that this year, so I enjoyed it. Like my department chair and my like admin
Uh-oh, robot speak. Amazing. Slow motion.
like our PLC leads
Here we go.
are like
Right.
just someone in the Spanish, like someone who just
Hold on. Amazing. Okay, you went robot, and I haven't laughed that hard in like all day. Okay, you're back. Okay. Phew, that was amazing. We heard I know. It was like Joe's crying. Listen, we laughed, we cried. Like, oh my gosh, my face hurts from laughing. Not just at the robot, but it was like a very impressive, very impressive. So last thing I heard is PLC.
So our PLC leads are not like, it's not the admin or our department chair. It's just like someone who just finished one from the department.
Same.
So I like that, where it doesn't feel very like someone from the admin team is doing anything. Yeah.
Mm.
I think what's been hard this year as far as support or lack of support has been like, it's hard for admin team to support you with like referrals or cheating or that. It's just, everything is so like, oh, like it's just hard. Everything is messy. So I think that's been hard, or like they're not coming, or they're not attending, or they're not answering. So it's just like the admin team is like, we are trying our best and doing so much. Everything is just messy.
Everything is messy. I love that. That's so true.
Yeah.
Like, no.
But like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like, okay, well, it's messy and I'm here and I'm dealing with my mess. So like, I need you to help me deal with the mess that's out of my control. So that's been a little bit frustrating. I know last year, the March through May craziness, when they were, you know, like when kids would be like Google translating everything, and you'd be like, here is like, I'm gonna copy and paste to you like their test from like February. And then this is like a Spanish 3-level paragraph in my CP Spanish 1 class. We don't know like 40% of these words, and they're like, that's their answer. And you're like, what do you mean? Like,
right.
It's very clear, you know. So it's that lack of support has been hard. But again, like I also understand, what can they like? Everyone has computers and they have all these like on the quizzes right now, even right, like it's like the word, like I'm giving you a picture of a fish, like on the cooking chapter, food chapter, whatever, and the word is pescado and it's on your list, yet you will Google it. Then you use your list, then you Google it, then you write pez and get it wrong. But like, okay, you look up socks, you put medias, and I'm teaching you calcetines, and it's just like, but like I'm letting you use your list. I don't know where I'm losing you. And I literally am like, can you like use your list better? Like, how do I teach you how to use your list better? Like the fact that I have to be like, all right, guys, time to take your quiz, get all your notes and lists out is already like killing me slowly. And then on top of that, you're like using your list wrong. Like, I don't know.
Right. How are you cheating wrong?
How are you cheating wrong is exactly right.
No, yeah, no, I'm totally kidding. Cause yeah, like it's like, I scaffolded it for you. How are you using the scaffolding wrong? It's like, you just like, oh yeah, I don't need that Quizlet link. No, you do though. Cause that you do. Like, I would maybe open that up in another, like, I'm not giving you tasks that are above you. I provided everything right here. Like, can you just look just to the left? Just right. It's right. Can you just look right? Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. Well, and how it evolves over time, and just the you know, how it evolves based on your life, like how you define support for yourself. You know, obviously like evolves over as your life changes, as your teaching load changes, as your school setting changes or doesn't, you know, because you've been in the same place, which is incredible in terms of, you know, being able to speak to, well, we used to do this, or, you know, we've always wanted to do, you know, like the holistic kind of perspective. I feel like for me, hearing you talk about that also makes me think about like how support has changed based on what you like feel confident about too, because like you said, it's like, get out of my way, but also like, I need you here. I wonder if it isn't easier to sometimes, so I find, I'm going to go backwards and then go forwards. Like for me, 90-10 is so much easier when I think about the 10, not the 90. Like the 90 feels really overwhelming, like Jesus, 90% the target language. Okay. But the 10, I'm like, oh, well, I'll use my 10% for this and this and we'll shoot for it. But whatever.
Right.
Same thing for lack of support. I think sometimes it's easier to name lack of support than it is to name like what support feels like. Cause it's again like meatloaf, like, oh, not that though. Like don't do that. And you don't know it till you felt it until someone says, yeah, your department needs to be in lockstep. Like your department, like you needs to be giving the quiz on Wednesday. I can't operate like that. Like that's weird to me. Like I can't, but I also don't want to be so loosey goosey that like Joe's class is one thing. Oh, you got to get Spanish 1 with like Dr. Brody Brown. He's like such a good teacher, but like you get Miss White, oh, like y'all don't do anything. She'll be like really fun and devastatingly good looking. But but like you don't do anything. Or oh, get Miss Ferguson, like get Profe, get whatever. Yeah. She's gonna be this. Get Senora Lakhani, she's gonna be this. And so when you are more consistent, it cuts down on that crap of like get so and so.
Which I do appreciate.
Yeah, I don't want to be the like you don't want to be like, we're all giving the test on Friday. Okay, but why though?
Yeah, step one of I think going more like kind of being on the same page. I think we started with like our first thing was like for each category, like if you have daily and quizzes and tests, come up with a range of how many items you're gonna have in each. So if you're gonna do daily, let's say we're gonna have between like 12 to 15 in a semester or whatever it is. Right. So like, sometimes that worked out really well. Sometimes we were all fighting over like, well, I don't want to do 10 to 15. Like some people were like, well, I give homework so-and-so. And we were like, well, we don't give that much homework. So you can, count 5 homeworks as 1 if you want to. So like, it was a process because, it was a process to get to a point where we could all be happy for sure. But I think that was a step in the right direction. Like, I think it definitely prepared us when we started with that, started with some dates and some pacing. And as long as we were within a few days of each other, it was good. So like, it really helped get us here when we were all like doing the same thing. It didn't feel like a shock. If it was year 1 of me teaching to like this year, I would have like, it would not work for me. So.
Can you imagine if that had either been terrible or great? Like I can't, because at least there are so many fewer students in the room, maybe like, or some of the like extra stuff that's distracting and gets in the way of our job, it has been kind of eliminated. Like how long have we said like, I just want to teach, and now you can just mute everybody and go, I'm just going to teach. Like, but at the same time,
but then it's kind of sad because you're like, you can't, like there's less engagement, and that's kind of sad. So you're like, no, I don't want this. Okay, I don't want that.
Right. Again, not that though.
That. Like, yeah.
I didn't know that I had an opinion, but till you did that, then I hate that. Like, it's super true. Well, I think defining what support means and define, like when you reflect, if you've been in a place, if you're changing places, if you're new, if you're like not straight out of college, but new, or you're super experienced and we have all of this nuance. Like, I think a big part of teaching sustainability is, and sort of balance, what I think of as like sort of the myth of balance, because I think what we're made to feel is that we can have it all, kind of like here, steady, even at one time. And I just really don't think that's true. I think it just kind of shifts a little bit. So you go, I'm leaving, Raheem's going to be home with the kids so I can stay till 4, or it shifts and he goes like, yeah, no, I gotta work today. So like, you have to pick him up from day. Okay. So now I think we kind of like a metronome almost that kind of like goes back and forth, or those weighted things. I think more so than balance, but I also think that boundaries are a big part of that. Like deciding what is but I ain't gonna do that. Like whatever that is. How have you seen your boundaries evolve?
For sure. I think like my first, when I got married, I think that was one of the first times where I think my husband helped me realize like, you can't spend all weekend and every evening grading. Like this is not fun for us, So I think that's definitely pushed me to find easier way to do things and say like, oh, maybe this can be done this way. Or like someone taught me this great thing of just like, let them work in pairs. We're doing a project. in pairs.
Yeah.
These are the things in pairs. And it's literally half the work. It's magic. I was like, oh, like I can just say do pairs. I just cut my work in half. So like that was an incredible thing that someone taught me there. I was like, oh my God, that half the work, literally. And then again, that like, you know, what is that called? Like the circle recycling bin, whatever, filing cabinet at the end of the year. That's like you collect 10 things, but you like right. So like that is something, you know, because again, like my issue with finding that balance is always like if kids, let's say, are you cut? This is a grade. Everything is a grade. Everything is a grade. So I think finding the proper way. I found my own system where some things are completion grades. So I walk around and check. So it was a grade. So I'm gonna check. And all those checks will equal like this grade at the end of the chapter. And some things I will grade and look at for accuracy because I need to make sure that you know what you're doing before the test or quiz or whatever it may be, and give them back to you and things. So finding out that takes time to figure out kind of what do I want to take for a grade in return and give them feedback on what do I want to just make sure they're doing it. I don't care if it's all completely wrong. I want to see you put pencil to paper and write it, and that's it. You know, so like figuring out that. I think that what's helped me a lot over the years is that my document, like my lesson plan document is full of notes. So it'll say like, okay, you know, I'm doing this, and this. And then at the end of the day, I'll write notes to myself and say, this went great. You need more time for this, less time for this, move this around. At the end of the chapter, I'll write myself notes and say like, don't ever do this again. This is so awful. So awful. Delete it now. Throw out all the worksheets, you know, so there's so much, or like improving directions is so important to me. Again, going back to like that, I'm so particular that like the amount of time I've spent explaining how to do a speaking activity has been longer than the speaking activity. Like at that point, you know, something's gone wrong and it's like you're not met the goal, you know. So like I do. So that has been a great, like writing notes to myself. Even in my notes, I like to color code. Like if I've written like, you know, vocab worksheet or whatever, then like the word worksheet is in like blue. That means I need copies for it. If I've done like, you know, vocab game, whatever, and I've highlighted it, that means that I'm gonna have to get the resources ready for it. So make sure that I have that in place. So like when I open the computer in the morning, I say, okay, make sure I have the copies for this and the, you know, the little pieces of paper for the whatever game, the patata caliente game or whatever it may be. So that helps me kind of get organized instead of having to like look through my document over and over and say, do I have everything ready? Do I have everything? I feel like everything's not ready. And I think that's such a big part of your first few years of teaching. You just feel like you're not ready. So like when I color code and I have them say, okay, well, tomorrow I need to have these worksheets and these resources. Yep, check, I'm ready. So that has really helped me a lot. And little things like, again, for my students, I started doing color coding for them because in my efforts to turn them into me, I make like all my vocab and grammar sheets are always yellow. And then like my rubrics are always blue on blue paper. So little things like that help with, okay, get your vocab sheets out. And I can see that everyone has a yellow sheet on their desk. So I know they're working-ish, and they have those, you know, materials out and stuff like that. So like little things like that has helped me get organized, help them get organized, which I think has helped us focus more on the content and not get so distracted by all the things that, you know, could be going wrong with, I don't have my paper, I don't have my vocab list, I don't have my vocab list, I don't have my vocab list. It's just like, it's yellow. I gave it to you 2 days ago, but it's yellow. So that's been really helpful for the students to kind of get organized.
Amen. I think just making some of those executive decisions can be really important. Like you said, like we're doing all this on yellow, like this kind of thing. You know, I've seen people even do 4 different colors, like reading, writing, speaking, listening. So if you know you have like a listening quiz, it's like just 4 colors, and every time they do something, whatever, it's like this is a speaking, this is an interpersonal, and this is going to help you with whatever. Great, it's always on, you know, purple, and then our listening is always on yellow, and our reading is always on green, like that kind of a thing. And we do, for me, I color code a unit just because we're blocked and we go so quickly. So
Mhm.
I'll color code like unit 1 is, yellow, unit 2 is green, because after 9 weeks, we have like a final or midterm, and then they have a report card. So I'm like, study everything you have. But for that final, now they're going to have 6 colors. And so it's like, study like red, yellow, green only. Ignore
Yeah.
blue, pink, and purple, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think I might evolve that, because I like, the more I hear about different things, like not kind of by where we are, but like what it is.
Mhm.
I really like am liking that idea, like you said, because you can look out and go, okay, everyone's got their vocab, yellow, yellow, yellow. Okay, great, got it. And like, let's move on. The things that before you'd be like, hey, like you said, wasting time on, like, hey,
Yeah, yeah,
where's
yeah.
your, like, no, there's no need
It's
for
like
that.
it's
Like,
like they look like they're working, and you're like, wait, this is math. Like this is
right,
not like
what are you,
from here it all looks like papers and sheets,
yep,
but like when
what are you
I
doing?
know, like my warm-up sheets are blue and my like vocab
Mhm.
lists are yellow. So like again, or my grammar sheets are yellow. So like when I look around, I see a sea of blue and yellow, they're working. If I see white, that's probably math,
Right,
you know?
rude. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I should see no white. Knock it off.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna rethink that. I've always done the unit ones just because, like I said, we move so quickly and we have 6 colors like available to us in our little workroom. So,
Yeah.
but I may rethink that, because I love that visual check. Not just like, oh, you've got your unit stuff out, but like you've got what we're doing out,
Right.
and you're look like you're doing something on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had mentioned the chat before. You mentioned he who shall not be named, Raheem. And I mentioned all the way up. Joe was like, "I'm here for the telenovela." I was like, "Don't tell Komal that I told you all this." But when we all met, I probably haven't seen Raheem in 15 years, whatever, 17 years. But when we met, you guys were like secretly dating,
Yes.
because you weren't like supposed to be dating, and then
Right.
y'all were like secretly together, and it was like, it felt very scandalous.
Yeah.
At the ripe age of 18, I was like, oh my god, you have a secret boyfriend. Now he's your not secret husband. But I love that he said that to you, because my husband kind of said something along like, he didn't introduce it, but he said something along those lines where, whatever the year was, like 2012 maybe, I can picture like where we were living, so somewhere around there. Whenever Netflix stopped doing just the DVDs and started streaming, because we would watch TV on Sundays, but we wouldn't watch TV. Like, he'd watch TV, I'd kind of watch some TV.
Right.
I'd be, like you said, on the laptop the whole time. And so like Sunday scaries, like waking up at 9 a.m. and going like, the day's already over. Like, I was already dreading and anxious and like freaking
Mhm.
out a little bit about Monday. I was in a really unsupportive department, which had a toxic culture in a lot of ways. And so I would be like upset emotionally about like going to work. And then it was like, also, what are we doing? Like, what are we planning? Now I'm gonna have to get in early and make copy. Like, it was like everything
Yes.
leads to a thing. And eventually Michael, like, I brought it up and I was like, I'd really like to not work like outside of school hours anymore. And he was like, oh, thank God. Like, it was the same
Yeah.
thing. Like, this is not sustainable for you, because
Yes.
you're like, you're not miserable, but like kind of, and we don't have a weekend together.
Yeah. I
So I
think
love
because
that,
yeah, like you're
you know,
saying, we would always be like, are we watching this together or are we watching it while you grade? Like those are very two different experiences. Because
oh,
he's like, oh my god, isn't that funny? And you're like, huh? What? True, false, A, C, 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 A. Like,
BA, right.
yeah. So I think that I agree with that. So I think finding that balance, and having to, I think it's like a new culture that's also emerging. I think that you see all these memes, you're like, don't support the grind, the idea of like, I worked from day and night. They have all these teachers like
Period.
working from the hospital, and you're like supposed to be like, oh, these teachers, and you're supposed, like now they're all like, no, why isn't there better support for like teachers to not have to work from the freaking hospital to
Right.
to work for their students? Like, why don't you have a system in place? Why don't you have better substitutes? Like, if we don't, then why are we here? So I think that is something new that's emerging that I really appreciate. I think that is important. Being a good teacher needs to be finding better systems, like we said, like finding better systems that work for us, not working until 9 o'clock until you're home. Like there, you have to figure out, you have to get with other teachers, and come up with better systems and help each other, and be able to pull from them. I think again, like that's what's hard. Sometimes when they have like optional faculty like support things, and you're like, you think I have time to go to optional professional development? Like I don't have time for that. Like the 30 minutes I would go there.
This optional support. I need real support.
Yeah.
It's like,
but then
yeah,
you
exactly.
go to some stuff, right? And it's so beneficial where you're like, oh my God, like again, like something simple like color coding or working pairs, like that can change your life. So it's so hard because, and then sometimes you go to optional things or go to like forced things and you're like, that was not helpful at all. I will never get those back. So it's
now
so
I'm more stressed out.
Yes. That's exactly right. So it's hard because the only way to learn and get better is to learn from others, but then you don't have the time to learn from others. So finding that balance is also so hard to be able to become better at balancing.
That's so true. Like I remember seeing something about like, what if you only worked your contract hours around that time, where I was like, Michael, I can't, like, I feel like the walls are closing in on me, like, because it's like, I was going to bed feeling like I hadn't gotten everything done. I was bookending my day with a deficit mindset, like regarding myself. I was going to sleep going, God, I didn't get everything done today. And then I was waking up going, oh my gosh, I have so much to do today. And it was like, I was never like satiated. I never felt like satisfied with the amount of work I was doing, even though it was like all day, 7 classes of 36, like da 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 da, and then they leave. Then you like, sit down and you look at the stack of papers, like you said, you're like, I just need to give these check marks. I had no systems. I had no support in my department. I was a couple, like 3-4 years in, I felt like also the shame that I should know more. I was engaging in professional development, but still like super dependent on the textbook. Like, proficiency sounds neato. Also unit 4, like, like, and all of it was just so much. But I remember seeing something of like, what if you only worked your contract hours? And that for me was the beginning of the journey of like, because I would have left teaching. I had like a job interview at like a check cashing place and like almost left teaching. I had like almost like they like medium polo. And I was like, yep, like almost had the shirt kind of situation and was going to leave teaching, like was done, but like scaled back in that way. And was like, what if I only worked, my contract hours? I mean, that was 9 years ago. Like it's such a long game job.
I think like when you tell students, the students are very like, how easy it is, just like give us work and just sit around. But you're like, in 1 hour that I have, like 1-ish hour, like how do you expect me to grade everything and lesson plan and make copies and go to meetings and go to parent conferences and IEPs and do all, like, so it's so overwhelming. So I think like at our school, we don't have a lot of meetings. Which I think has been a saving. Like I could not, if they were like, come, let's sit and talk every month. We don't have faculty meetings every Monday, or like we just don't meet a whole lot, which I really appreciate. So I think that's, speaking of like support, like that's support to me, is not making me sit through faculty meetings weekly, So that's definitely something that was beneficial. Again, I didn't realize how great it was until someone was like, oh my God, on your teacher workday, you're gonna get to work. And I'm like, yeah, girl, I would die if I didn't get to work. What do you mean? Like, I look forward to having at least 4 hours, 5 hours to get some stuff done. And they're like, oh, we have meeting, lunch, meeting, 1 hour to yourself. And I was like,
yeah, that had been, I mean, because like before coming back to Gwinnett, that had been my experience. And I was like, I can't, like, I remember Gwinnett being so collaborative. I remember I was like, please be how I remember it and better. And in those ways, we'd all obviously change things about wherever we work, but like in those ways for me at this point, I feel like pretty much anybody who could really make my life miserable gets out of the way. And like, really, like if I'm selling it, they're buying it, kind of a thing. Like, just, being like, yeah, okay, do you want, like, yeah, no, you don't have to come to this meeting. Can you, I mean, we get hardly any emails. We have almost no meetings. The meetings are like quick to the point, whatever. Like I'm in the exact same boat. That to me is support. Don't waste my time. I will go to the ends of the earth for you. I will bend over backwards. I'm an excellent teacher. Don't waste my time, please.
Yes, I agree. And I think that, again, like that's the way to show support, because you're showing trust. That I don't need to sit through a 2 hour, because like sometimes you feel like admins have no idea what it feels like to be a teacher anymore. It's like when you don't do so many meetings, I feel like you get it. Like you remember what it was like, and you remember how important time is. It's more important than anything else. So that's important. Like little things like at meetings when counselors are like, okay, we have these teachers, and then when Miss White is done speaking, she's gonna go because she has so many other meetings to attend today. So it's like, thank you. Like I could also, if you need me, for sure, I'm here when we need to discuss something. But if you want me to give my 2 cents and you already got it wrapped up, like please, like encourage. So like I think that's something that our counselors really encourage, that like they're all like, okay, Miss White, thank you for sharing. I'll see you later. Okay, now Miss Lakhani, now you're sharing. So then bye. Okay, who's next? So little things like that I appreciate, because I could also sit through the entire 45-minute meeting because no one understands that my time is valuable and I can't do it. Like I can't grade while I'm sitting with parents. But yeah, no, I do appreciate those little things, how the admin shows their support.
Absolutely. And I think that first step is being able to define what support means for you, which I think takes time, like you're saying. Like Raheem, is it Raheem? Dang it.
It is.
Raheem, donde estás? Raheem, last time I saw you guys, he's like, oh, look at tiny dude. Yes. Oh my God, it's the whole fam damly. Look at him. Oh my goodness. There she is. Oh my God.
There's like 50 people on the side.
Oh my goodness. Hold on.
This is the reason I gotta work my contract hours. This is the reason I gotta work my contract hours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you have to. You can't be working like overtime and miss that face. Amazing.
Yeah.
Mother, she's like, hey. You have like a kindergartner happening behind you. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, amazing. Oh my goodness. Little dude, big girl, love it. And Raheem, obviously. Hey. Raheem, I said last time I saw you, I think you guys were like scandalously, secretly in love. We were like, weren't supposed to tell your parents. I remember Komal's parents would like come visit. And we were like,
no boys. There's been no boys.
No here. Boys ever. She's not dating anyone. She is though. Like
my mom knew. My dad.
Did she?
My mom, my dad didn't.
Amazing.
It's a cultural thing.
Because dads are weird. Dads in general, no offense, Raheem. Dads are weird. Like all dads are weird. Yeah, my mom and I didn't tell my dad a bunch of stuff. We still leave him out of the loop. So like Raheem, you'll just be forever out of the loop. Sorry.
He's already like, he already was like, that better not be the case, because I know how you did your dad.
I know. So you did your dad dirty, and I know it. It's like
United Front is the way things go, and I'm like, oh, we'll see about that.
Sorry, that's just how this works. So I regret nothing. That's amazing. Well, come on, your family looks incredible. Look at dude. He's like, we are making some serious eye contact. Love it. Love you. I'm so grateful that you teach like 3 miles away. Like, and life has brought us like this so like funny
back together
circle. I know. And I need to get on Teams more and just message you, but I'm so great. I know you don't have, obviously no one does, but like you don't have endless time. And so I'm just like so grateful for your time and just everything that you've shared. So I just super appreciate you. And when this is all over and we get our second shot, we need to hang out.
Yeah.
And little dude. And I guess Raheem can come. Oh, yeah. Raheem's like, damn, I'm getting the business. Yeah. No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, Meredith White, you'll talk to me later about.
Right. I think we can say it. I think, I tell everybody that. I'm like mine, it was like the reverse thing. Like now in your phone, it's like, oh, she was always white. Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah. It's working for us. Meredith Blanco.
Oh, it works.
Blanca.
Good grief. Yes. Okay. You're the best. I appreciate you. Thank you for being
so
our guest
much.
tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Yeah. We need a part 2, like after we've survived the year. Like, how are you?
Yes.
Well, we're all twitching. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Yay. Thank you. Goodbye. You guys are the best.